want to thank all of you guys for coming out today and supporting this art and these artists that are sitting next to me. Mauro de la Tierra is a self-taught painter, writer, photographer, and musician. He has worked on various projects from underground music and art exhibitions to gallery shows, and Joshua is a self-taught artist, writer, photographer, and his work explores themes like mental health, technology, and spiritualism. So before we begin our conversation, I do want to remind our audience that you, at any point throughout the conversation, you can walk up here to the podium and use the mic to ask a question or comment. So at any point, feel free to, if you were part of the series, if you have a question about the process, we'd like to have you ask a question or share a comment with the artist today. So Mauro and Joshua, how are you guys doing?
Good. Been really great. Grateful to be here, and it's awesome to see everyone here. Thank you.
Yeah. So this is a project that spotlights 30 individuals who all have some connection to San Antonio. And when we're in the gallery and we're looking at all of these different people who all look like, it's just so beautiful to see all these different settings, all the different personalities that jump at you from the pictures. And so who are they and why were they selected to be part of this portrait series?
Yeah, so our list of 30 was pretty hard to condense down. I think me and Mauro initially had about 100 people we were probably collectively nominating to be a part of the project, but the list of 30 we got to was really a combination of, I would say, friends, peers, people in the community that we just authentically have gotten to know just through organic experiences. Like I said, it's friends, peers, a couple relatives, mentors, people that we just really admire that work in the community, but I think more so just to us represent the full spectrum and the wide array of the culture here. So I think our main priority was to highlight, not necessarily celebrities or people of big stature, but more so people that, are neighbors and friends and people that could be, anywhere in your neighborhood and stuff, so, yeah.
And I noticed that in some of the photographs and paintings, some of the people have their faces painted, but others do not, and they're painted it's like various colors and shapes on their face. And Mauro, you were the person that painted them, right? So why some, and why are some of them painted?
So with the face paints, I really wanted to kind of incorporate a surreal element that kind of gave it a very contemporary feeling. And it was very symbolic of their inner child. And it was, of course, optional based on the comfortability of the people. And that's kind of a continuous theme that I've done in my previous work. I really think that using face paints is just a very whimsical and creative way to kind of channel different expressions and things like that. And to be honest, I also thought it would make, because I'm not really much of a portrait painter, so I thought that incorporating this face paint would make the painting process easier, but it actually was very difficult and stuff. But I do feel like I learned a lot, so that's very good. Mm-hmm.
So what's the significance of where the photo and where the picture, what's the significance of the setting for each individual?
So everyone that we selected to do a portrait of, we got with them and we had them kind of have more free reign over where they wanted to shoot. I think our only criteria was really, somewhere in the city that more importantly felt significant to them and their upbringing and, their, what made them who they were. But also we're if it was somewhere that was kind of more well-known or iconic to the city, just like a staple of the city, was bonus points. So I think some people went off that criteria, but we had other people just choose personal studios, their homes, the childhood homes they grew up in. But then on the other side of it, we went into Brackenridge Park, deep into the forest, because Zidi Damu, one of the people we interviewed, felt like a spiritual connection to that specific area in the park. So I feel there was just like a vast array of kind of different responses we got to that, but we really left it up to the decision of the people we interviewed to choose a location.
So why do you think it was important to capture someone in a painted image and also in a photograph? It seems like some of the when you look at the gallery, some of them look very similar, like the painting and the picture, but others look different. I mean, why is it important how does that help us see the individual in two different ways?
So I think one of the great things about painting, especially like in an impressionist sort of way, it kind of captures more of like their essence, their feelings. And I think the portrait is more stoic. It's very like capturing who they really are. And I think that this project being a big preservation of history and culture, I feel really honored to be able to connect with these 30 people and immortalize them into the series. And yeah, that's why I felt it was important.
I think the combination of portrait and photography and painting, and to have it specifically be a multimedia thing, I think really kind of harkens to me and Mauro's collaborative nature too. Me and Mauro have been working together for almost nearly a decade at this point. So, when Mauro initially approached me about the concept for Bajo La Sal and to do these portraits and asked me to be the photographer for it, I feel like it just was kind of the perfect marriage of what we do, and it just made sense to us. So to be able to platform the painting and the photography together, I think is like a testament to like the work we do together, but also capturing, the kind of two different perspectives we have with these people we know, and like the love we have for them, but like the specific lens we see it through. So I saw it described as like, I guess my photography in a way was like more realism, and then Mauro took, like you said, like a kind of whimsical, like colorful approach, and I felt like that captured like the inner spirit of people. So in a way, it was like a two-sided portrait of everybody.
So, how did you decide on the title, and why did you find that title most appropriate for a series about people who have ties to San Antonio?
So Bajo La Sal translates to under the salt, and the reason we picked that title is because that's how they preserved mummies. And I felt that Bajo La Sal, using a Spanish name, I feel like we're a culture that has like dual identity, and there's like big roots being so close to Mexico and stuff like that. So I really wanted it to be in Spanish, and I also felt that just it being a preservation series, it was important to feature that.
So, what is it? I noticed that when you, next to each image, that there's the person's zip code that I guess that they live in or that they're connected to. What's the deal with the zip code?
So, I mean, that was, I would say, Mauro's idea initially, but, it was it was interesting at first, I think, when he conceived that, and then we agreed to go with that sort of idea as one of the questions, because we opened with that too. So when we sat with everybody and we did the video interview portion with everybody, we opened it by asking them, where are you from? What zip code best represents you, like you're saying? And then that's what we implemented into the writing that's next to everybody and the writing in the book. And so we kind of lead with that. And I think, to speak from my perspective on it, I think the literal reasoning behind that is just to kind of create almost like a map of like what we were doing with this project. And I feel like we touched, all the kind of different corners of the map of San Antonio. So, we hit, northeast, west, south side, and even outskirts and stuff. So it was interesting though, like kind of getting a list of all the zip codes together and seeing how certain people identified with specific zip codes, because it wasn't even all San Antonio. Like we had someone who said that the zip code that best represented them was, their barrio in Mexico. So like it was like they're like, oh no, I feel more represented by where I was born, or someone shouted out their zip code in Austin and stuff. So I think it was kind of more of an identifier for the interviewee's personal identity, and what felt important to them, like for their upbringing. So it's not necessarily like where you were born and that's like what defines you. It's like the environment you're raised in and the experiences you have in a specific area and stuff that kind of cultivate you into the person you are and stuff. So.
So you're both from San Antonio, I assume. Otherwise, yeah. Okay. So can you tell us about your upbringing in San Antonio and why you decided to put together this portrait series?
So my zip code that I would best represent is 78202, and that's on the east side of San Antonio. And I think that the east side is a very like underrepresented and very like kind of like marginalized, rough area. But when you get to connect with the people who actually live there, there's so much resilience, there's so much like culture and power in these individuals. And I've always just felt like this really strong connection towards like people, and kind of doing this project just sort of embodied that for sure. Mm-hmm.
So I grew up on the Northeast Side, 78247. And I think for me and from my perspective, you know, I grew up in a more suburban, sort of like middle class, I guess, sort of area. And I feel like with me, the perspective that gave me was kind of being able to see, to be able to kind of see the gaps that are present in the city and that sort of thing. So I feel like from an early age, I was always like very aware of class disparity and privilege and, you know, all things of that nature. And coming into adulthood and finding my own self and my own identity, I was able to really have a perspective of like the issues that are at hand here and then what changes someone like myself could be able to make in the city and reach out to, you know, barrios and places that like I kind of was, I felt like deprived of in a way because all of my family is all over the city and stuff like that. But I think like with my specific upbringing, you know, I didn't necessarily like have a lot of those experiences. So it's almost like in like later age, I've been able to like really connect with that and kind of find my pack in a way, I guess. And yeah, I think us coming together with those two different perspectives was really with the intention of just like showcasing like love for the whole spectrum of the city and the people that are represented here and being able to highlight like every story regardless of where you're from and to just try and bridge gaps in that way, you know.
Did every person have to be born in San Antonio, or was it people that just had some special connection to the city or have lived here at some point?
No, we definitely wanted to capture like people from all over. Like my mom was featured in the project, and she's from Saltillo, Mexico. And I think also, like us as a nation, we were established by immigrants. So I think that it was important to feature like people who just really had a connection with the community here, you know, who are community driven and had some sort of impact or passion.
Is it like working with your mom?
Honestly, it was really healing in a way, you know, because me and her, we used to bump heads a lot and stuff, and siempre la estoy regañando and stuff like that. So getting to like really hear more of her story in such a like vulnerable way, it was very empowering, and I feel like it made us a lot closer, and I feel like I was able to understand her a lot more, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I feel like we have a tendency of just like joking a lot, and we never really have like serious discussions. So sitting down with her was very like, I guess like relaxing and just like, yeah, it was very connecting, you know? Mm-hmm.
Well, so what were some of the stories that stood out when you guys were conducting these interviews? I mean, you guys literally did interviews for hours and hours, and you took hours to paint their portraits, to take their photos. What were some of the stories that stood out to you?
Yeah, that's a tough one because I feel like we got to spend so much time with the people in this project, you know, both in person, but also just in like the editing room. And I mean, like me personally, like the video that's playing there in the gallery, that's about an hour of 30 total hours of cut up video footage. So, you know.
When did that get added there? Because when I was here last time, I didn't see that.
It was only for the opening and for today. Yeah, I wanted to leave it the whole time, but it's like a TV, so you gotta.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So for me personally, I was sitting and listening to the stories and sitting with the footage and listening to the audio and really trying. Or like I know when Mauro was painting, he said he would just listen to the audio of the interview and use that to inspire his painting. So I felt like really we were connected to the people throughout this entire 7-8 month process because we started our interviews in October of last year and finished in May of this year. So yeah, we did the 30 interviews in that time span, which sounds like a long time, but it's kind of really boils down to like one interview a week. So yeah, I feel like I guess to come full circle to your question, like it's really hard to kind of really pinpoint specific stories that stand out because I feel like they're all amazing, awesome stories, and everyone in this project is an amazing person. So they're in this project because we believe in them and believe in their stories and platforming the ideas and the identities they represent. So, but I would say for me, there. I guess I could say like which ones made me want to cry.
Yeah.
There were
I'd
some
love to hear
that
that.
made me, like really become emotional and stuff. Even like when Mauro was saying like interviewing his mom, I felt really moved by that. Just to be privileged enough to be like a fly on the wall and experience like their conversation, because the way we would set it up would be that I would tell the people like I'm not here, like I have the camera on, but you and Mauro have a conversation. I'll chime in, if I have anything to add. But other than that, like I want this to be organic and candid. So, I feel like when Mauro and Ale, his mom, were sitting down and talking, like I just let them have a conversation and I just chilled back and tried not to like make myself known. And I felt myself being really moved because it made me think of my relationship with my parents and just think about mothers everywhere. And there's like quite a few mothers that we have in this project that have been through all types of struggle and trials and stuff. And yeah, so I feel like stories like that like really moved me, like the ones that really just kind of hit close to home. And but I'm proud to say that we got pretty intimate with the interview process. And I think as it went on, like we were able to really not only have people open up with us, but open ourselves up to people. And I felt like I found a lot of truth about myself through the process too, and was able to like discover a lot about my approach to life, and being Latino and being from this city and everything. So yeah, for me, I feel like it's kind of really hard to pinpoint like one specific story, But
If I had to narrow it down, have you all ever heard of divine appointments? So it's kind of just like the universe aligning certain like meetings or experiences and stuff. So I recently last year started my basics at San Antonio College, and I'm an old man going to school. So that's been really interesting, learning to navigate and kind of like relearn how I like my etiquette, I guess.
Huh?
And so yeah. So I've been pursuing social work because I really want to do art therapy, right? And doing my basics, I'm around like really young students, like 19, 18 years old, and I have like a boomer mind, so I'm just like, what are they saying? And so,
But he's not a boomer, just to be clear.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for sure. But yeah. So basically, I've been going to school and I've been struggling with this feeling of like acceptance or feeling like I belong there. Like I'm constantly just like, why am I doing this? And so during this process of sacrificing, I feel like the semester ended and I had like this late book and I needed to return it. Like I just happened to check my email and it said that it was overdue. So I was like, oh man. So I stopped what I was doing and I rushed to the school and I got lost in the campus. And I remember like, yeah, trying to find the bookstore and stuff. And I heard this like piano song playing and like, I kind of just forgot why I was there. So I started walking and I was like kind of following this song and I ended up in this room. I think they call it the fiesta room. And it was so powerful, the experience, because there was just like, it was a giant empty space like this filled with a mural, and it was all like mosaic. And the tattoo that I have on my hand, it was painted on the wall, and I was just like, I just stared at it for a long period of time, and I felt really emotional. I felt really at peace. I finally felt a sense of acceptance. It was like understanding that like I came from like a troubled background, but I'm doing this to like improve like not only myself but my neighborhood and like my community. And I just happened to share the picture, and this artist, his name is Jose Cosme. He responded to it, and he's a really, really prolific painter, and he specialized in doing a lot of murals with San Antonio Cultural Arts in the West Side. And I happened to reach out to him, and we just became friends. And it was all because of like that mural that I ran into, and he was a part of the project, and I felt like that was a divine appointment, And his experiences were really powerful, Like I was very transparent with him, and I told him that I had been kind of like struggling with this sense of acceptance, and he was very much like shared his life experience. And he talked about how he was wrongfully committed of a crime, and he lost a chapter of his youth, like in the jail system and stuff. And so I think that when he was released, everything was okay. I feel like he devoted his life to doing like community advocacy and being like a positive person, and like really taking the time for people who are struggling. And I found that to be really inspiring. And that's someone that I really look up to. And so that was probably my favorite.
Well, some of your work also, well, first of all, thank you. That was a really beautiful story. And some of your work also has to do with the prison industrial complex, right? Yeah, so you felt a connection with him. And
I like that story too. I felt really honored and lucky to experience that, I feel like it was really powerful.
well, I did have a question about one of the people that I saw in the gallery. So in their photograph, they were painted blue, like their entire body, and which was, guys had told me that was a representation of their like indigeneity. And in the painting of them, they are not painted like they look in the photograph, so they look just like a different style. So can you tell us the story behind that? Because there's some images and portraits are almost exactly. So why was this one so different? It seems like it was probably the most different one.
So that person's name is Ziri Damu. They're present here currently. So we actually, that was the one portrait that we shot over 2 days. It was just due to some like technical difficulties, so we ended up doing like a second day. So that it is literally 2 different days of shooting. But I did appreciate the contrast in that, because that first day was that experience I detailed about going into Brackenridge Park with them, and they showed up dressed in their spiritual garb, and like I said, they felt it represented the connection with their ancestral roots and their indigeneity, and and also represented a connection to the earth. And that's why we were shooting in the forest pretty much. And that was a really beautiful day. It was hot, dead in the heat of summer, and we got with them, and I mean the portraits don't even do it justice, but we set up like an entire flower bed on the floor, and we laid out a bunch of like native plants, and created like an entire kind of almost like photo like area on the ground in the earth. And it was really almost kind of surreal and spiritual, like connecting with the earth in that way, and with them and hearing their story. And they're a chef as well, so they really try to work with like a lot of indigenous foods, and like reconnect with the ancestral foods that we've lost to time or to gentrification. So I feel like their story really was representative of all of that, and the way they chose to present themselves that day. And then the second day, they came more plainclothes, but I think that was cool too, because it was real Texan, and like real just San Antonio, and represented a different side of them. And I think it just like created a really well-rounded portrait of who they are, because that is them. That it's like 2 sides of the same coin. And I think, yeah, it was just like a perfect, it lined up to be like a perfect representation of them. And I just love the way those portraits ended up because I don't think I would have had it like any other way specifically, you know. So and then a lot of the ones that are the same, that was like a discussion we had. But you know, we said like I think for some of the people, for some of them, it was just hard for me and Mauro to choose. Like we were just like, I really love this picture, but this is the one you want to do the painting of, but this is the one I want to use for a picture. So let's just do them both, like, you know. And then some of them I was like, okay, cool. Well, like I like the angle of this one more, so I'll go with like the more wider shot, and then you get like a tighter close-up picture for the portrait, you know, the painting and stuff. So yeah, I think it was just we like crossed those bridges when we got to them and stuff. So
So I just want to remind the audience that if you have a question or a comment that you'd like to share, if you were part of the series, we'd like to hear from you. You can go up to the podium. Yes, Tori?
Hi.
hi.
I just want to say, like, I'm excited that I got selected. And when we were doing our interview, I'm curious about how you came to the interview questions, because you guys were so empathetic and, like, it was an emotional experience. Like, I'm not a crier. Then suddenly I was like, am I about to cry right now? Like, I just, like, freaked out. So, like, how did you go about selecting the questions that you asked and, like, keeping it comfortable and being empathetic and all that? Like, how did you guys select those?
Thank you, Tori.
So me and Josh, we made like a skeleton of questions. We wanted to make sure that we were able to make it short, but we were able to have like vulnerable conversations and, you know, really making sure that we captured these people with the rightful integrity. And so, yeah, we had a general list of questions that we would use, but we would also definitely ensure that we were aware of like people's comfortability. So sometimes we would skip questions or we would expand. And so it just kind of varied and stuff. And we definitely had an organic approach to some of them too.
What was cool is I think over the course of like these 30 interviews, by interview one, I think we like stuck to the script. Like we're just like, all right, these are the 8 questions. Let's not stray from this. And like we stuck to it. Our first interview, we were graced to be able to interview Ray Chavez, who is the head coordinator of Fiesta's Corneation event. So he's got a really awesome story of coordinating since the 60s and, kind of dealing with the ups and downs and pitfalls of trying to have like a long-lasting event here in San Antonio that was like subject to ridicule at times and like things like that. And he's like remained strong with his community and the people that support him and the people he supports. And anyway, so that was our first interview. That was the first one, right? Yeah, I don't even remember anymore. I was like, it could have been the last one, but it was our first interview. And I think with that one, we went in a little nervous, but prepared and ready to like meet this person. And I think that first interview with Ray like really opened us up to be like, oh, okay, these are our friends and these are people we can talk to. Like we're talking to you now, and like we talk to anybody. It's just like, yeah, just be ourselves. And there's no like, we're not trying to reach an end goal. We're just trying to get to know this person and genuinely ask them questions about themselves. So by the time we got to the final interviews, I think we were so far off script, we would maybe ask like 1 or 2 of the questions and then be like, okay, but there's like this one thing I really wanted to ask you about that I noticed one time, or like whatever. There's a model, we would sometimes have personal stories that we shared with them, be like, hey, remember that one time? And I felt like our interview sessions got longer and longer. Like there were some of them that were like 3 or 4 hours because we were straight just kicking it. Like we were just like, yeah, like let's go get food and talk and hang out and like, I'm like, oh man, my camera hasn't even been on this whole time. So, yeah. So yeah, I think it was a really natural process, and I'm proud to say that I got to like watch Mauro grow like literally as an interviewer and like an orator, and like be able to like just connect with people, like just like look people right in the soul and be like, tell me about you, like no BS, strip away all of the pretense and everything, and just let's get to the real deal. And then I felt like I was able to grow as well, I guess like as a documentarian in a sense. Like I started really feeling pride in that, of like it's my duty with this project to capture an honest story and to not shy away from the good, the bad, and the ugly, and paint an honest portrait. So like even those videos in the gallery right now, if you were to sit and watch, like, you know, it gets pretty adult, and like there's like some really adult themes covered, but I'm like, that's what makes these people who they are, and in turn makes the city what it is, because we're nothing if not the community that makes us, you know.
So when you were asking people what some of the, like what they liked about San Antonio, what they found most beautiful or most meaningful, what were some of the responses that you were getting from people?
There was a lot of similarities, actually, like regardless of who the people were, where they're from, the stories they shared. Like it was, first of all, it was overwhelmingly positive. I don't think anyone had like a bad thing to say about this city, and like, how could you? We're the greatest city in the world. So, but so everybody had nothing but just like heart for this city, you know. And so I feel like everyone, when we asked them, like, because one of our questions was, how did growing up in San Antonio make you who you are today, or like what do you love about the city? I had the thing where I started liking to ask kind of like silly ones. So I'd be like, where do you like to eat here? Like, where's your favorite taco spot or something, right? And then and I just felt like everyone, I think the resounding response we got is like I think the thing I heard the most was that exact phrase, like there's nowhere like here, you know, like San Antonio is one of a kind, and like the people from here are one of a kind and stuff. And even people who moved here, like, you know, because we interviewed a few people who were born like in the Valley, and like I know we have like a special love for the Valley and stuff, and like, and it feels like a sister city in a lot of ways. Like somewhere like McAllen always feels like, but likewise, those people were like, San Antonio felt like home once I was there and stuff. And so yeah, everyone just really connected with just the community, the sense of community here. And then not speaking specifically on the city, but I think like a lot of, we would ask people what kind of advice they would have and stuff, or like what kind of perspective they had on the world too. And I feel like everybody was just talking about like believing in yourself and chasing your dreams and having a positive outlook. So what's really cool and what really made me proud of this series of interviews is that like everybody was like 100% just from the heart, like with positivity and love for like their people and the people around them. And I think we're all just like trying to do better, be better, and like be good people. And this really exhibited that, I feel.
That Mauro?
Josh did it really well.
Well, I think growing
The
up,
teleprompter right there.
I think growing up in San Antonio or living in this community at times can be tough. It's not always a positive thing if you're low income, if you have other issues that you're dealing with. And recently in San Antonio and across Texas, there's been an uptick of children making threats to their schools. And I think children and people get inspired, good or bad, about what they see in the media and what they see people who look like them doing. So I really just appreciate having this gallery because it shows children and it shows people that there are other things you can do, that there are positive things you can do that do not hurt other people, that instead uplift each other. And so I just want to say thank you for giving people a new look of San Antonio that's really beautiful. Thank you. So, I mean, what does it mean to have your art featured here in the San Antonio Public Library? This is a place that has free access to books, to stuff like that. Usually it's a really excellent place when you don't have Wi-Fi at home, or if you're low income. And so your art, the whole point of it is some of the people that you interviewed come from these kinds of backgrounds. And I'm sure you guys utilized the library when you were little. So I mean, what does it mean to have that conversation here?
I actually went to school right down the street. I went to San Antonio School for Inquiry and Creativity. It was a charter school that featured and really highlighted like creative programs. And so to me, this library has a big sentimental meaning to me because this was always a safe space that I could come where I could read, I could learn, I could draw, or literally just like sometimes even sit in AC. And when you're lower income, you don't sometimes have access to that. And so, growing up, coming here and having like a full circle experience where like this is the artwork that features, and it's like you mentioned, it's like having like a very like honest and vulnerable stories of people that paint them in a more like uplifting way. To me, that's like something that I take a lot of like pride in, because I remember walking through this gallery and feeling that, you know what I mean? I think when you're young, you experience so much nihilism and you feel very alienated. So I really wanted this exhibition to feel like a sense of like unity, you know?
Yeah, and for me, the library has always been a place of empowerment in that sense too. I was really, I was a bookish child, so I mean, I was a nerd, so I spent all my formative years reading and enjoying books and the written word and everything, and so. I mean, since I was little, libraries were always kind of a place of wonderment to me. So my favorite thing was to just check out like stacks of books and like tear through them and like, and you get older, life happens and stuff, right? And so I felt like I actually kind of fell out of that relationship a lot. Stopped reading as much, and then the iPhone came out. Forget it, dude. Like so, but I think this project seriously has like really reinvigorated that. And it's interesting because right before we started this project, I renewed my library card for the first time in years, just on a whim. I was like, I'm gonna start going to the library more. Like I can't believe I ever stopped doing this. And so over where I live, I'm by Sem's Library, Sem's Branch Library. It's like a beautiful library with like a hiking trail and everything. So I mean, I'm gonna start coming and hanging. It's right down the street from my house. I'm gonna start hanging out here more. So. This project really reinvigorated that love too, and like Central Library is such a beautiful structure. I mean, it's gorgeous, and so I feel like I really, in to circle back to what you were saying about being, a positive influence to the people that are going to see and experience this thing. I think if I want anyone looking on this project to take away is that, empowering yourself through education and through self-willingness is very it's a strength, and it's meaningful, and it's important to like learn and like have a lust for knowledge and have a lust for life in return. And to kind of touch on what you were saying about people we interviewed who come from low-income backgrounds or faced those sorts of problems, and the people who might be viewing this project that are also in the same situations. We interviewed a gentleman by the name of Jose Arredondo, who a lot of people know because he's a well-known reporter for Spectrum News here. He goes by your tia's favorite reporter. Yeah, and he's a lovely guy, like an awesome human being. But his story of resilience is like really inspiring because he lost his mom at a really young age. He didn't come from any like well-off means at all, and he faced a lot of struggle, coming up. But through just his own sheer determination, he finished school. He, went to college and all of that, and pursued a career in journalism, to eventually becoming a reporter for Spectrum News and everything. And he won an Emmy, So like, that's such an inspiring story to me. And he says it best himself, that the story he won an Emmy for is like, I was a 78207 kid reporting on a 78207 story, like about a 78207 school, and it won an Emmy. You know what I mean? So he's like, that was important to him, and like that's what this whole thing's about. You know what I mean? Is like, because the kids that are from his neighborhood and the kids that look up to him or hear his story be like, that's my zip code, that's where I'm from, or like, oh, I have the same story, like I lost my parents or something and I thought there was no hope, but now I see someone like Jose who's like really doing it, and so I think that's what it's all about.
Well, kind of going back to this idea of, having your art in the library and this conversation in the library. I just really want to thank the San Antonio Public Library for their tireless work in providing access to books and computers and services to all people. And my favorite thing today is when kids say, I really wish there was a place where you could get books for free. And it's like, have you heard of the library? So just can we clap for them? Just thank you so much for all that they do. So now I want to talk about the book that you have on your lap there, which I'm still waiting for my signed copy. But can you just tell us, like, what's in the book? I assume it's everything that we saw in the gallery, as well as the interviews, and I think some additional images that we're not seeing out there.
Yeah, so this is the hardcover book of Bajo La Sal. It's 144 pages, full color. And also, to tack on to the thank yous, this whole project wouldn't have been possible without the generous grant we received from the City of San Antonio Arts and Culture Department. So this project is a city grant project, arts grant project. So because of that grant, we were able to install in the library and make all of these prints and buy canvas and culminated in being able to make this book, because I don't know if y'all know this, but making hardcover books is like really expensive. So, we're very grateful for that and fortunate to be able to produce this work and have a physical testament to the history of this. But so the book is everything you see in the gallery. It's all 30 paintings and 30 portraits. As well as some additional portraits. And then it's 30 pages of writing that's culminated from those interviews, those video interviews we did with everybody. Of course, you can't sum it all up into one page, but it's the best I could do to sum up everybody in the writing. So I did the writing for it. It was a pretty tireless effort, but it was worth it, because we wanted to be able to capture everybody's stories and more than just the little placards that are by their name and stuff. So, we weren't able to expand on half of the themes and stuff. So, the book is all of that. And then it's some behind the scenes and extra photography by Guadalupe Acuna and Zoe Para, our two friends who came and documented the opening. So it's opening reception pictures. And then Mauro did a bunch of 35 millimeter film portraits as well. And we included a whole section of those too, which is really, I feel like it really captures kind of the behind the scenes energy of the whole series. And so this is it. This is our baby, and super proud of it. And again, as proud as we are of it, though, I feel like it's important to us that this is a permanent document of all of these stories too, because actually we have a copy here that we're going to have all of the artists that we interviewed sign, and it's going to be placed in the Latino Resource Collection here. So it's going to be here in permanence. Yeah. Any kid that comes into this library will be able to pick up the book and read the stories. Yeah.
Mauro, do you want to share more about the book and the process of putting it together and including the film portraits that you took?
I've always had an appreciation for using film. I feel like it's something that's very outdated and almost forgotten. So I kind of this hobby, and I always have really expensive hobbies for some reason. So, but I feel just documenting in film is super. I feel like there's this sentimental feeling to it, And so I don't really have experience with Photoshop or Illustrator and things like that. So to put this book together, we kind of just learned on the fly. Josh was sitting watching YouTube tutorials and TikToks and stuff. And luckily our friend Tanny was able to help us with the InDesign. And so thank you, Tanny, for helping us with this book. But it was super awesome. I love books, and it was very fun project to put together, and it was really hard to narrowing it down to 144 pages. Like originally, I think we were like, oh, we're gonna do 110 pages, and then I was like, Josh, it has to be 124, and then he was like, no, we need to add this, and so it ended up being 144 pages, and I'm glad and I'm really proud of how it came out. You know, especially because we don't have like, I guess like formal education, you could say, you know what I mean? Like we didn't go to art school and stuff. We're like very much like DIY artists who kind of grew up in like the punk scene. So to be able to do something so important that's like for the community, made by the community, it feels good, you know?
That's really spectacular that now your book is going to be here. So it's also another free and accessible resource to people. That's really great. So this gallery of 30 people, it's kind of like a web. Like some of the people know each other, some of the people have met through like events or just by growing up in San Antonio. Other people, it seems like, don't really know each other. And so did your project kind of bring these people together? Do people feel like, do people involved feel like now they have this family and this community that they can reach out to? Because the people you interviewed and that are included are of various backgrounds. I think there was like a doctor, there were several artists, musicians, comedians. So, I mean, what did it do? What did it mean to them, at least from your perspective?
It was definitely interesting. I think the opening reception really showcased that a lot too. It was interesting being able to see like the people who did know each other that I wasn't aware of, you know. It was like kind of like unlikely friendships. I was like, oh, what? Like these people know each other? Like they're not even from the same like neighborhood or anything, you know? But, and it was cool being able to see like the organic connections that happened too between people. I saw like a lot of people exchanging information, and the opening reception was really cool because it just felt like a giant it was like a giant mixer or something, you know? It was like everyone was just like getting to meet each other, meet the people that were in the portraits, and it was really heartwarming to see like a lot of the people who were platformed in the portraits be able to like have their photos taken by people in front of their portraits and stuff too. So, but yeah, as far as this kind of interconnected web of everybody, well, you hear it all the time that San Antonio is like a big city with a small town vibe. So like that's another thing everyone was always saying in our interviews. And I'm like, yeah, that is true though, because gosh, it just feels like anywhere you can just go to like to the HEB down there and then like see like 3 people, you know, or something.
Yeah, I know. We know.
And then and so, you know, I think this project was no different as far as like 2 people you wouldn't think had some kind of history, like go way back and stuff. And I think between me and Mauro too, like I said, our intention with selecting these folks was people that we had genuine like organic relationships with, who we've met through the community or through art events, or, you know, I met a lot of people for the first time too that were Mauro's homies, or like people that, you know, I had admired from afar but never like really got to meet on a personal level. And then once I met them, I'm proud to call like everyone in this gallery a friend now, you know. And me and Mauro said like we feel like we made like 30 friends.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think we just cut our teeth in like the underground scene here, so we've just met all types of folks, you know.
Well, I really have been enjoying talking to you guys. I'm curious if any other people who were part of this would like to speak and share their comment. We'd love to hear from the people who participated in this. If you could please. Yeah, because this is being recorded. Thank you.
Hi, nice to see you again. My name's Zidi Damu. You were the one that had the question about
Yeah.
the paint and its importance, and I was
Nice
kind
to
of
see you.
Yeah, it was nice to see you. I'm happy to be here. It's very interesting, but I think the comment on everything kind of being interwebbed in this project and how important it is. I just kind of wanted to like I guess share my experience with it and just kind of how meaningful it was, not just for me, but also like how grateful I am to be included as a part of a documentation of San Antonio's culture. And so when they approached me, we were actually at the Esperanza Peace and Justice Center. They were having their market event every year that they do around November, which primarily focused on immigrant artists coming from Mexico. They did a lot of artisanal crafts and the sorts. And I was going through really hard identity crisis at the time, just being two-spirit, which falls under the trans umbrella, and, having to fight for my space in San Antonio, especially in one of its pinnacle places in the workforce right now where I work, and as well as just also, with my relationships day to day, and then that being as an artist and how estranged I felt from myself, suffering with borderline personality disorder, just trying to just feeling very lost, and, Mauro always painting hummingbirds and the sorts, and, they were always an inspiration to me growing up when I first started, around 2016, 2017, entering the art spaces and organizing events, and, while being a musician, always making sure that I was focusing on other musicians rather than the self. And so he just, he came up to me and just acknowledged me and mentioned everything in the project and their appreciation. And it was just kind of like a saving grace almost, in a way, kind of reminded me of the moment we were talking about and your college experience. That was very much that moment for me. And it is feeling myself return to my body and okay, I have this purpose. I've had this idea. I wanted to do the portrait of what we ended up shooting myself. I wanted to do a painting. And so as I was saying, doing a portrait, doing a painting, it just felt like divine timing. And so I wanted to focus on Huitzli and Xochi, which is from Central Mexican cultures. So there's different variations that go around, but it is a legend of why we practice Dia de los Muertos and why the marigold is so essential with that. And the hummingbirds are traditionally represented as warriors and the male energy, and the marigolds being the flowers, the feminine energy. And when the warrior Huitzli went out to battle, they never returned. And so in their cries, they pled to the lords to send them back to them, show them in their grief. And so after their journey to Mictlan, which was the regalia that I was wearing that day, which is for those ceremonies, after they do their 30-day journey there, they come back as a hummingbird and they return to the flower, and that's your loved ones visiting you. And so being two-spirit and again sharing how I felt that identity crisis and embodying the feminine and the masculine and everything in between, and then for us how it is a title of responsibility also for your community, and just really trying to live up to it. It felt like a constant cycle of death and rebirth and coming back to the self. And so just reminding yourself to kind of just be gentle and to be patient with yourself. And so that's why we did that specifically. We had the dehydrated marigolds and the amaranth, and we kind of framed it I also wanted to honor kind of San Antonio's culture and its influence, and how we're estranged also from our lineage and from our practices, and having the kind of the Virgin Mary kind of frame to it, and the monstera leaves being at the bottom too. It was a very hard shoot too. The sun came out after the interview, and we're just laying there probably will take 2 hours in the grass, and they were persevering through it, just trying to get everything right. And it was a very sweet experience. And then later, through social media, and finding out more and more, all the people who intertwined. One of the muralists being somebody that I saw backing on my day to work and being a constant motive, inspiration, and they ended up doing the mural at the place where I get my sacred tattoos and my septums, and and then even our photographer being somebody that I went to high school with, and getting to see them grow up into these roles of now being a part of this with us, and other two spirits also involved. Just seeing all of us all connect again, it was just really, really inspiring, and a really phenomenal experience. So I really can't thank you all enough, and yeah, I just wanted to share.
Thank you for sharing that.
Appreciate you.
Hello, my name is Mike, and I grew up in the 78201 barrio. I just want to follow up on a comment that the moderator said about the selection process and how you chose these. And I think my observation was that a little bit more than half of the participants were in the arts. Self-taught, music, photography, and I recognized maybe 2 or 3 people, but the rest of the people were new to me, and so it was good to see that they're in their communities doing work to better their communities, and so So in the selection, was that intentional in selecting quite a few people that were in the arts? Or was that self-conscious that, you know? I mean, I saw one PhD, and I think she did social work. And
Thank you.
I'm a social worker as well, so I picked up on that. And so, so that was my question is, you know, and I also, another comment is that some of the participants freely exposed the fluidity in their gender, which I kind of enjoyed. And I enjoyed knowing, I mean, although I don't know these people, but, you know, I'm glad they're there. So it's great. And so Joshua, you're the one in the black hat? And you're, I guess, you're Mauro. Mauro. Oh, you're Mauro. Okay, you're Joshua. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Thank
But,
you. So
great exhibit.
Can you guys answer that question about like, I guess it seems like it kind of just ended up happening that you guys being in the art scene.
We featured a variation of activists. We had a civil rights lawyer, but I think essentially San Antonio is just a very creative city. I feel like there's so many amazing artists here, and I think it happens to be also like us being involved in the art community. I felt like it was a very natural process, but I think that, yeah, just San Antonio as a whole is definitely like an art city, you know? So I think that's why.
Serendipitous than anything. It definitely wasn't planned. I think once we had the list of 30, you know, we didn't kind of designate like where everyone fell. So it just kind of happened to be that way. But yeah, I think like Mauro was saying, like, I think everyone we interviewed had some type of like discipline or even dabbled. Some people like were more professional artists, and other people were just like, I just shoot photos in my free time. You know, one of the people we interviewed, Lola, she wants to do like video game design, and she just like barely touched on that like in her interview. But I was like, that's crazy. You know, she's a woman in tech, and you know, it's like a really, it's like a minority. So, yeah, I think just literally everyone in San Antonio is just really talented and like full of ideas. You know, I think it's a testament to the energy that's just flowing here.
Hi, Jose.
Onda loco.
Hello. If you're a Thea, you already know who I am. If you're from the West Side, you know who I am. I'm Jose Redondo. I'm one of the 30 people that were interviewed for this. News reporter at Spectrum News. Friends with Josh and Mauro, who I barely met Josh through the project, but amazing artists. So I just want to give a round of applause for them real quick, please. I know for me as a reporter, it's an art to get people to be vulnerable with you. So me being on the other end, Mauro and Josh did a great job of making me comfortable because I hate being on the other end of being interviewed. And so we went to where I grew up by the San Juan Courts. We were just chilling in the back on a picnic bench. And so it was beautiful. I just wanted to let you guys know. I don't even really have a question, but I just wanted to praise you guys. Y'all did amazing work. Seeing it come to life. Seeing the deadline that y'all were on, and they're true rock stars. They're true artists, right? Puro last minute, baby. We love it. That's where the best work comes. But thank y'all so much, man. Holding the book, I have the book already. I left it at home. I need you to sign it, Mauro, by the way.
Of course.
But just holding it just got me a little emotional. Seeing myself in a book, it's crazy. But thank you for letting me be a part of this, and seeing a lot of my friends, man. Seeing a lot of cool people that I've either interviewed or hung out with, or just even met in the streets. I mean, like you said, we're a big city, right? But we're a small town too, right? We all see each other in the streets. We see each other at art events, wherever, at the bars, being necios. Like but it's a community, right? We're all there for each other. And so it's just really cool to see the diversity, right? People think we're just Mexicanos here in San Antonio. We're more than that, right? Like we're like a big old rainbow, and we have a lot of beautiful people that make this city special. So y'all did probably the best job that I've seen anybody done in any kind of, whether it be painting, photography, journalism, whatever. Y'all captured that perfectly. So that's all I want to tell you guys. Hey, and where can I get my medal at, man? Where's Que pedo, bro?
They're on the merch table.
But
Thank you,
once
Jose.
again, thank you guys. Y'all are amazing, and I can't wait to see what y'all do because y'all are just beautiful people.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jose.
Thank you.
I think we have time for one more question or comment if someone wants to share.
Hello, I'm Jose Cosme. First of all, I wanted to say it was an honor to have been selected and to be part of this project. And I didn't expect Mauro to share that story, and I'm honored he shared that story. Para aquí estamos. That's what we're here for. I'm not perfect, but I try to do my part and use my experiences to help others. But yeah, it was an honor to be a part of this project. It came together beautifully. I remember walking into the opening and being like, wow. When Mauro first asked me if I wanted to be a part of the project, I said yes, but I didn't know it would be all of this. So the book was beautiful too. I picked it up the other day and I'm like, wow. But I did want to ask, I came to the opening and I was at the video, and I don't know how long each video is, but I was watching one of the videos and I had to move out of the way to give other people a chance. And I was wondering where would we be able, if there was anywhere we can watch the rest of the videos, the show.
That's something I want to do. I think, because like I said, we did 30 plus hours of interview footage. I think yours alone was like probably 10 hours.
But I wanted to say, your mom had asked me at the opening, was it hard? And I thought for a couple of seconds, I was like, no, actually, it was like I was talking to a couple of homies, right, family. It was real easy. So I thank you all for that too. Like I just kept talking and I think we were together for like 3 hours probably. So I thank y'all for that. It was, like I said, talking to friends. So.
And with that, I think so. The
Thank
plan. You. Thank you, Jose. Just to answer that real quick, yeah, I think we're gonna follow up. We're mostly on social media, so like we do most of our stuff on like Instagram and stuff. But I'm gonna try and find a way to get it out there to everybody. But I want to eventually put like all the raw footage like on YouTube, maybe like do like a Bajo La Sal like YouTube series or something. So I think that's the plan, is to like drop all the uncensored footage because it's just so much, and like the placards definitely don't cover it. The book like barely touches the surface, and I feel like being able to like look at the full unedited videos would like really tell the stories, like just no cuts or anything. So yeah, because even the stuff that's in the gallery is 2 or 3 minutes from 2 hour plus interviews. So that's the plan. Yeah.
Well, this brings us to the conclusion of our conversation. I want to thank the San Antonio Public Library. I want to thank both of you for having this conversation with me and being so honest. And I really want to thank the 30 individuals who were part of this amazing project. I feel like I kept going up to people and being like, I saw you, like I know you and I know your name. I want to remind people that if you were one of those 30 individuals, that you can pick up your medal. Is that correct, Mauro? Which was designed by Mauro. And I just want to thank all of you so much for coming out and supporting this and sitting through this conversation. Just thank you so much.
Thank you.